Welcome to the Sequel Kitchen, where we develop sequels to your favorite things. Last time we discussed, I talked about the Dreitriarchy Society and how great it is. Well, now, the people at the Sequel Kitchen have made the Dreitriarchy. This is known as the sequel to the Dreitriarchy Society, and it should be a lot more stable this time. These two kids with cowboy hats are thinking, what is better about the Dreitriarchy? And if you think about it, two kids with cowboy hats is sort of like a sequel to one kid with a cowboy hat. Well, let's take a look at this new and improved society. We now have spare automatic weapons for means of self-defense. For example, if someone comes up to you with a knife, bam, automatic. If someone comes up to you with a grenade, bam, automatic. If someone comes up to you and they want a hug, bam, automatic. Oh, and speaking of automatic weapons, automatics are like a sequel to what we call not automatic weapons. The Dreitriarchy loves sequels, probably too much. They love sequels to such an extent that most of the buildings here are dedicated to developing sequels. And if you think about it, buildings are like the sequel to living in the woods and dying slowly. Here's the man who invented Twitter, which, as we all know, is the sequel to hell. Shame on you, Gregory Jameson. Here's the arm that invented Brand X, Brand Y, and Brand Z. Brand X, Y, and Z all specialize in making eggs, which are of course the prequel to pregnancy, which is the prequel to birthing an ugly baby, which is the prequel for that ugly baby to grow up and have their own ugly baby. Sex is wild, I know. In September of last year, these two generic white guys held an event called Promo Palace. And it turns out they're gonna make a sequel, which is surprising considering they're not in the Dreitriarchy. So it seems this whole sequel craze has gone beyond our little space here. We now have computers too, which is of course the sequel to boring empty office desks. We now have capabilities for stuff like playing innovative games like Pong or Donkey Kong, and we're working on a sequel right now called Donkey Pong. We can't show too much yet, but I'll tell you right now, it's pretty darn good. We also have cars now, which are of course the sequel to whatever the fuck this thing is. Now, what if I told you we had sequels since the very beginning? Yeah, that's right. In the first Dreitriarchy Society, we had protective lions. Well, guess what? Those lions were the sequel to Tasmanian tigers, which are of course the sequel to dogs. Remember Judith from the first society? Well, we have a sequel now. She's called Elizabeth. Look what Elizabeth is having. That's right, it's lunch. Did you know that lunch is gonna get its very own sequel? That's right, it's called dinner. And if you're lucky, sometimes sequels can lead to a whole series. Sequels are the way of the future, to make sure we cling on to the things we love, while we all sit in our armchairs and inevitably die alone, with no one around us. You know, dying is sort of like a sequel to being alive.